Well, hello everybody. Yes, it is a Wednesday at 2 o'clock. That would be Mountain Time, and it is time for Make Stories Matter with Matthew Taylor. That's me from Persuasion Through Narrative. So we like to get together just at this kind of time each week just to chat about different little concepts, little ideas of stories to kind of help us start to cement how we can use story in our everyday life to get the things that we would like. So, what we have for today is know what your story is about. And that's what we're going to delve into. And we've looked at a few other bits and we're going to do some other little pieces that come along. But right now, it sounds kind of. It's kind of stating the bleeding obvious because it's like, well, of course I know what my story is about, but it is the first question that I'll always ask after somebody shares a story during one of my workshops. And it is very rare that people can answer it immediately in a kind of succinct kind of way. And usually, what they'll do is they'll just repeat what the narrative or the anecdote of the story is. So, if I was 10 years old, riding my bike down a hill, I lose control, hit a tree, break my legs, go to hospital. I would say, what is it about? And then they would say, it's about me crashing and breaking my leg on my bike. And I'm like, absolutely right. But if we want to use stories purposefully, then we need to start thinking about what it is that the story is really about. And that's when people start to kind of struggle a little bit because they can be about many different things. So I had a bit of a wee mishap on Sunday. A wee mishap. That kind of sounds a little English, doesn't it? But I did. And so, and this was kind of the result. I've got to try and get to, so the majority of my right, that's pretty, isn't it? The majority of my right side of my body, so my shoulder, this, then going down on my hip and the thing is all has a large amount of skin having been removed. So I was riding my bike, my road bike, with some friends on Sunday, and the next minute I'm just pedaling along, and then I move over to one side of the road a little bit just to get away from the other people because I have to blow my nose, and I didn't want to cover them in the rest of the mess. So, and I just do the, I think you call it the farmer blow, or we do there, where you're just going and then go out there. So I take my hand off. And from what I've been told, there was some rocks, a little rock in the road, hit it, and the next minute I am skidding along the concrete on my side and smash into the curb, and it's just, all chaos is set. And so thinking about that, I was like, okay, well, if I share that story and somebody says, what's it about? I could easily say, well, it's obviously about me crashing my bike. But then as I start thinking about it, it's like, well, what else could it be about? And I'm not saying that, you have to kind of decide if you're just chatting at happy hours or Thanksgiving, take round the family table. You're not going to be thinking of stories quite this uniquely. But anytime you want to use a story, and if you remember that I chatted earlier about the definition of story that I really like from Peter Guber, which was a story is a vehicle that allows you to put the facts in an emotional context. And then they change a bit because if you've got some facts you want to get across, whether that's in work or whether that's in a relationship or whether that is to your kids or however it is, then it becomes purposeful. Because it's like, what story is it that is going to allow them to understand it and retain it and be able to recall it? And it's all about that emotional connection that we have to wrap the facts around. So I was thinking about my little bike crash, and I'm like, well, what could it be about? And it was like, well, it could be if I wanted to illustrate living every moment, like living life in the present, because you never know when life will change. And I was lucky enough that I have survived and was okay with it. But it's like, that would be one element that I could think of. Another one would be for me now not to dwell on that. It's like, don't dwell on things that happened in the past, because then my joy of writing would be diminished. Support, friendship, my buddies I was riding with were so supportive, and Abe and Larry and and this poor stranger. I think his name was Craig. Craig, if you ever see this, mate, sorry about that. He was heading back to Denver. He was a bit lost because he's only just kind of got an apartment out here, and and so we showed him the way back into Denver, and then I also showed him how not to ride a bicycle. So he had to put it. But everybody was so supportive when they were picking me up and checking whether I was okay because my head smacked into the curb and whether I was concussed. So that support and friendship when it happens, when it's so critical, when you need it the most. It could be gifts. I mean, I am dreadful at buying new equipment for anything, skiing, biking, this, that. And I'm just like, if it works, I'm perfectly happy with it. I don't need to have the newest, latest, greatest or anything. It just needs to function. So I never really buy bike helmets if my bike helmet's working. And mine was super old, but my daughter Maitland gave me a bike helmet for Christmas because she knew that. And it was one of those ones that is a more modern one, and it has the MIPS in it, which is it's a technology that prevents concussion a little bit more. I think it lessens the immediate blow and puts it in stages. And I'm sitting there going, and I can remember my head going smack right into a concrete curb, and I'm here chatting to you. And so I'm like, I'm just going to say MIPS works. I don't know what it is really, but it certainly seems to work. But the fact that my daughter gave me a gift, and you never know when gifts keep on giving, is kind of another piece. And the story would be different if I flavored it with that. And it just keeps going. Loss of control. What's it feel like? Trauma. Is it worse experienced, or is it even worse when you watch it? Larry was behind me and saw the whole thing. I don't really remember what happened. It was like I remember being out of control. The next minute, it was like I was just hanging out on the ground, kind of dazed and confused. So all of these, whatever one I pick, will be a really different story. I mean, it'll be the same anecdote, the same chain of events, but where I start the story and end the story would be different. I mean, if I'm just picking it for one of these, remember, we think of stories as moments. So if I carry on telling you, we start the ride and we go off and we do the whole ride, but really all I'm interested in is showing you something that happened at the accident. Why does it matter for me to start? So like right at the beginning, so you can start stories at the moment, which would usually be the inciting incident. When did it take off? When did we end from exposition and suddenly the rising action starts? So these are all things to consider, which we don't usually, but it's kind of fun when you think about it. The nice part is people are like, well, I don't have lots of stories or ones for it, but it's like you don't need a lot of stories because any story can usually fill some of these different needs and show some of the qualities that you might want to show, to other people of who you are as a person. So selecting it is there. Now, the little real world tests, here it is. Ta-da! Real world tests. Okay, so here's one for you. And we're coming into that time where it's like there just seems to be one holiday after holiday after holiday. So we've got, Halloween's coming up this weekend. We're going to have Thanksgiving, which is an awesome place for you to be able to watch and see stories happening all the way around you. And then it goes into Christmas, and then nobody really does any work in this third quarter anyway. Who would? Please, people, do some work. I can chat to you about that. But it is one of those things. They're great places to observe. So here's the real world test, because this is the other thing where people don't know what their story is about, is that invariably, if remember we chatted about how our long-term memory will only gets triggered to pull events and facts out of it by association or cross connections. So what happens when somebody doesn't really know what their story is about? They'll start telling it and they'll trigger themselves. And then they'll start telling you another story in the middle of the story they're telling you, and sometimes even a third story. And you'll know it or recognize it when people start saying things like, I should also remind you that this, because now they're realizing they're going back to the first story or the second story. So see if that happens, and also be aware if it happens for you, because I know I do it at times. It's just the way we are. So a lot of these tips, as I said, is when you want to be purposeful and use story and its kind of superpower to really be able to get, it sounds so self-serving, get what you want. I mean, that could be to win a case. in court. That could be to date somebody. It could be to get your kids to go to bed. However it is, it's like, but most of our wants are good. So use it for good is what I would say on that. So that is kind of it on just knowing what it is. And but think about the next time, or think about stories that you have in that you've told in the past, and ask yourself, what is it about, or what could it be about, and then play, because that's kind of the funnest way to do it all. So I'm Matthew Taylor with Persuasion Through Narratives, and this has been Make Stories Matter, which is our little Wednesday blip at 2 o'clock Mountain Time. A few upcoming little bits. Please, if you enjoy some of these, or they're helpful a little bit, or make people think a bit, please share them off to people, or like them, or do all that kind of good stuff. We do have a Facebook group, Powerfully Fun Storytelling. And that'd be fun if you could join the group, and then you can stick some of the little comments in there, and check in and have conversations between like-minded people who are interested in storytelling. I also do have 15-minute consultations, which are free for people, and you can sign up on the website. We're working that out at the moment. I know I said last week we were working it out. Well, I'm still working it out, but they're going to be there. So you can just plunk your name in there if you want to, and we can and we can chat about anything. It doesn't mean you have to have a purpose. If there's something that's popped up on this, give me a buzz. Or not give me a buzz. That would be so English and old and like talking on the telephone. Who does that nowadays? Yeah. That was it. So we have those, and that website is matthewtaylor.com. And then I also have a virtual workshop, a new one coming up. So if anybody wants to sign up, or if you want to chat to me about the workshop, good thing to do is jump on that virtual link. And those are going to be in November. It's going to be the 6th. Oh, sorry, that's not correct. It's going to be the 9th and the 16th. It's 2 parts. It's going to be 9:30 to 12 on the 9th and then the 16th. And so that, of course, it can be to anybody, anywhere in the world. Thanks so much. Lovely to see you. And I will see you next Wednesday. It's going to be very exciting, because next Wednesday I'm actually heading to Nashville to speak at the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers as a keynote for them. So I will be doing my first Facebook Live from somewhere. So we will see. But I'll see you then. Thanks so much, and you have a fantastic rest of your week. Take care, you guys. Bye.